For every darts pro loved by fans, there's another who is hated. Some win hearts with humility. Others lose the crowd with every glare, every celebration, every word they say. This is the sharp divide in darts, from icons to villains. And today, we're breaking down the most loved and most hated players in the sport. Stephen Bunting doesn't fit the mold of a modern darts star, and that's exactly why fans adore him. He's not brash, he's not intense, he's not trying to play the villain, he's just Bunting. Nicknamed the Bullet, Stephen burst onto the scene with his BDO World Championship win in 2014, a moment that instantly made fans sit up and take notice. But it wasn't just the title that won people over, it was the man behind the darts. Bunting walks on with a grin, he throws with rhythm, and he reacts like a bloke in the pub who just can't believe he's beaten the best in the world. There's an everyman quality to him. He's not the loudest, not the flashiest, but when he's on, Bunting plays a beautiful game, smooth, composed, clinical, and he's had to fight to stay there. After bursting onto the PDC scene with high hopes, his career didn't always follow a straight path. A string of tough defeats, injuries, and a particularly difficult run in the Premier League had many wondering if the Bullet had misfired. But Bunting never gave up. Instead of lashing out or making excuses, he dug in and turned things around. And in one of the most satisfying moments of his career, he sealed a nightly win in Week 9 in Berlin. That humility, that refusal to act like a superstar, is part of why fans connect with him so deeply. And it doesn't end on the stage. Bunting runs a YouTube channel where he chats darts, shares behind-the-scenes glimpses, and opens up in a way most pros never do. No PR polish, no media training, just Stephen being Stephen, warm, genuine, and always grateful for the support. Win or lose, he shows nothing but respect. His interviews are full of gratitude, self-awareness, and that signature down-to-earth charm. When he broke down in tears after a career-defining win at the 2023 World Championship, darts fans everywhere felt it. Not just because it was a big win, but because it meant something to him. And that emotion, that honesty, made people love him even more. Stephen Bunting might not have the biggest trophy cabinet, but in the eyes of the fans, he's already a champion. Justin Pipe didn't just lose the crowd, he lost their respect. Once ranked among the top 10 in the world, Pipe was known for his ultra-slow, methodical throwing style. For many fans, it was unbearable. Nicknamed the Force, his pace could grind a match to a halt, turning what should have been a thrilling contest into a frustrating waiting game. Opponents complained, crowds groaned, commentators danced around the issue, but fans didn't hold back. And then came the controversy that sealed his reputation. In the first round of the 2018 World Championship, Pipe faced Bernie Smith in what should have been a forgettable match. But with Smith preparing to throw a crucial dart, Pipe appeared to cough loudly during his backswing. The moment went viral. Slow motion replays showed the perfectly timed interruption. Some called it gamesmanship, others called it blatant cheating. The backlash was instant. Fans flooded forums and social media, slamming Pipe for what they saw as one of the dirtiest moves on the big stage. He denied doing it on purpose, but by then, the damage was done. From that point on, Justin Pipe wasn't just slow, he was loathed. Every cough, every pause, every dart he threw was met with suspicion. The crowd turned cold, his ranking slipped, his appearances dwindled. For some players, being hated is part of the show, a role they embrace. But with Justin Pipe, the boos weren't theatrical, they were personal. And for a lot of darts fans, his legacy is not about what he won, it's about the match he ruined. Nathan Aspinall isn't just a top-tier darts player. He's a reminder that hard work, humility, and heart still mean something in this game. Before the major titles and walk-ons to roaring crowds, Aspinall was just a regular lad from Stockport, juggling jobs and grinding away on the dart scene, trying to make ends meet. There were moments when he nearly walked away from the sport altogether. Money was tight, results weren't coming, and the dream felt far away. But then came the breakthrough. In 2019, he stunned the darts world by winning the UK Open, a run that changed everything. He wasn't supposed to win, he wasn't even on most people's radar, but he played fearless darts, took out heavyweights, and lifted the trophy with tears in his eyes and the world at his feet. From that moment on, fans took notice. But it's not just his darts that make Aspinall beloved, it's him. He's a family man who wears his heart on his sleeve. He's never afraid to show emotion, whether it's joy, frustration, or raw gratitude. After every big win, his first thought is usually for his kids, his wife, or the people who stuck by him when things were rough. And he's brutally honest. He talks openly about the mental side of the sport, the nerves, the self-doubt, the pressure of performing week in and week out. He's even spoken about the fear of developing dartitis, a condition that has derailed careers and haunted players across generations. That level of honesty makes him relatable in a world full of polished prose and rehearsed answers. On the oche, Aspinall brings energy. He celebrates big moments, hypes up the crowd, and fights for every leg like it's his last. But he does it without arrogance. He's fiery, but never disrespectful. Competitive, but never cocky. And even when the results dip, even when the form disappears, the fans stay with him, because they know Nathan Aspinall never phones it in. He gives everything he has, every single match. In a sport where personality matters just as much as performance, Aspinall is one of the few who's got both. There was a time when Adrian Lewis was seen as the future of darts. Back-to-back world titles, explosive scoring, natural talent that even Phil Taylor praised. But somewhere along the way, the love ran out. Known as Jackpot, Lewis had one of the smoothest throws in the game, effortless, a fluid, and capable of reeling off 180 after 180 without breaking a sweat. His 2011 and 2012 World Championship wins made him a star, and for a brief moment, it looked like he was on track to become one of the greats. But that version of Lewis didn't last. What followed was a career defined by inconsistency, attitude problems, and a growing disconnect with fans. On-stage arguments became more frequent. His body language, slumped shoulders, sarcastic smirks, exaggerated reactions started to wear thin, and when the results dipped, the frustration spilled over. He clashed with players, he clashed with officials, and most of all, he clashed with the crowd. One infamous moment came at the 2017 UK Open when Lewis was accused of aggressive behaviour following a heated exchange with Jose Justicia. He was suspended and fined after the match, another black mark in a career that fans had once pinned so much hope on. And while some still defend him, saying he's just misunderstood or emotional, for many darts fans, the excuses have run out. Adrian Lewis had the talent, he had the trophies, he had the chance to carry the torch for the next generation. But instead of becoming a fan favourite, he became a cautionary tale, a player whose antics overshadowed his achievements. When he plays now, reactions are split. Some cheer, hoping to see a spark of the old Jackpot. Others boo, not because of who he used to be, but because of who he became. Before the lights, the walk-ons, and the big money sponsorships, there was the crafty Cockney. Eric Bristow didn't just play darts, he built it. In the 1980s, darts was still finding its identity. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't global. It was smoky pubs, flat caps, and pint glasses. And then Bristow stepped up to the oche, oozing swagger, full of confidence, with a throw that looked as casual as it was deadly. He wasn't just winning titles, he was shaping the future of the game. 5 world championships, 5 world masters, a player who made dominance look effortless and pressure look like a joke. But Bristow wasn't loved just for the trophies. He was loved for being Eric. Cocky, absolutely. Outspoken, always. But he backed it up every time. And beneath the bravado was a player who changed lives. He mentored a young Phil Taylor, spotting the potential long before the rest of the world caught on. He offered advice, encouragement, and famously, his own money to get Taylor's career off the ground. Without Bristow, there might never have been a Taylor. Fans respected him because he never pretended to be anything he wasn't. He spoke his mind, played his heart out, and gave the sport character at a time when it desperately needed it. Even in his later years, long after the title stopped coming, Bristow remained a fixture in the world of darts. His presence at events, his commentary, his sharp wit and unfiltered honesty. He wasn't just a player, he was a symbol of everything darts used to be. Raw, passionate, unpredictable. Eric Bristow didn't just win over fans, he helped create them. Adam Smith Neale's rise was fast, but his fall was faster. In 2018, he shocked the darts world by winning the World Masters, a 6-4 victory over Glenn Durrant, and just like that, the nickname Big Dog was on everyone's lips. But it didn't take long for things to unravel. Less than a year after that career-defining win, Smith Neale suffered a serious injury. He broke his leg after a drunken fall during a tournament trip to Italy. The damage was severe enough that he appeared at the BDO World Championship on crutches, and unsurprisingly, crashed out in the first round. The injury slowed him down, but the behaviour that followed, that's what lost the fans. In 2024, during the new Neaton Darts Open, Smith Neale was involved in a shocking incident, punching his opponent after a match. The clip spread quickly online. There was no ambiguity, no room for excuses. It was an ugly, violent moment, and it resulted in an 8-month suspension. The backlash was immediate. Darts fans, already lukewarm on Smith Neale, turned ice cold. A petition was launched to ban him from professional play altogether. Online forums lit up with criticism. Even among darts' more forgiving fanbase, patience ran out. It wasn't just a bad look. It was the kind of behavior that crosses a line in any sport, let alone one that relies on discipline, respect, and mental strength. Smith Neale may have talent, he may even find form again, but with a track record like his, for most darts fans, he's already crossed the line for good. You can't talk about darts without mentioning Phil Taylor. You can try, but the conversation always finds its way back to him. Nicknamed The Power, Taylor wasn't just good, he was a one-man era. 16 world titles, 8 consecutive wins, over 80 televised titles in total. For 2 decades, he made winning look inevitable, routine, boring even, but it was anything but boring. Taylor played with surgical precision, he dismantled opponents, he didn't just beat the best, he crushed them, leg after leg, match after match, year after year. And fans, they watched in awe. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, he just threw darts like a machine, and when it mattered most, he never missed. But what makes Phil Taylor loved isn't just the dominance, it's the legacy. He took darts out of the pub and into the mainstream. He brought professionalism, fitness, and discipline to a sport that was still shaking off its smoky backroom roots. He raised the standard and made everyone else rise to meet it. Even his rivals respected him. Raymond van Barneveld, Dennis Priestley, John Part. They all knew if you wanted to be the best, you had to go through the power, and most of the time, you didn't make it through. Away from the oche, Taylor always carried himself like a man who understood the weight of what he'd built. He gave credit where it was due, he shook hands, he stayed humble in victory, and there were a lot of victories. Even now, in retirement, he still draws the biggest cheers at exhibitions. Fans line up for autographs, for selfies, for just a moment with the greatest to ever do it. Because Phil Taylor isn't just the best darts player of all time, he's the reason darts became what it is. Jelle Klaasen had all the tools to become a darts superstar. In 2006, he shocked the world by winning the BDO World Championship at just 21 years old, the youngest ever to do it. Smooth throw, confident walk-on, a fearless playing style. Klaasen looked like the next big thing, but the promise faded quickly. After switching to the PDC, his performances became inconsistent, the hype dwindled. He struggled to string together deep runs in major events, and fans began to lose interest. He wasn't disliked, just forgettable, until the scandal hit. In 2012, Klaasen was convicted of sending explicit messages to an underage girl. He pled guilty in court and received a suspended sentence. Though he issued an apology, the damage was irreversible. For many fans, that was the end of the road. The booze started, sponsors disappeared, his name became synonymous with shame rather than success. And unlike other players who've stirred controversy through mind games or antics, Klaasen's situation was darker and far less forgivable. The darts community, known for its loyalty and second chances, turned away. Fans didn't just dislike him, they wanted him gone. Since then, Klaasen has tried to rebuild his career. He still competed, still played on tour, but the crowds haven't forgotten, neither have the headlines. For a player who once seemed destined for greatness, Jelle Klaasen will likely be remembered for the wrong reasons. Not for the title he won, but for the trust he lost. Jocky Wilson didn't look like an athlete. He didn't talk like one either, but when he stepped up to the oche, you couldn't take your eyes off him. A 2-time world champion from Fife, Scotland, Jocky Wilson was darts in its rawest, most unfiltered form. No polish, no PR machine, just pure, unpredictable brilliance wrapped in a working-class shell. He wasn't a machine like Phil Taylor, he wasn't a showman like Eric Bristow. He was jockey, scruffy hair, missing teeth, pint in hand, and a throw that looked more pub league than professional. And that's why fans loved him. He was one of them. Wilson didn't care about appearances, he didn't rehearse interviews, he didn't play a role. What you saw was exactly what you got. A flawed, fiery competitor who lived for the game and wore every emotion on his face. He had a legendary rivalry with Bristow, fireworks on stage, verbal jabs, tension that felt real, because it was. But even in the heat of battle, Jocky was never fake, never calculating. He just wanted to win. And when he did win, in 1982 and again in 1989, the celebrations weren't choreographed, they were chaotic, authentic, pure joy. Off the stage, Wilson battled demons, health issues, alcoholism, financial struggles. He disappeared from the spotlight after retirement, living a quiet, difficult life away from the game he once ruled. But fans never forgot him. To this day, his name gets chants at tournaments. Clips of his wild walk-ons and explosive finishing still light up social media. For older fans, he's a reminder of dart's gritty golden era. For younger ones, he's a cult hero, the kind you don't get anymore. Jocky Wilson didn't just win trophies, he won people over. And for a sport built on passion, character and imperfection, he was the perfect champion. In darts, love and hate aren't handed out for averages. They're earned, through attitude, through actions, through the moments that stick. And if you thought these names stirred emotion, wait until you meet the player who was universally admired for how he played, and equally despised for everything off the board. Click here to watch the story of darts' most complicated legend, a man fans love to watch and hated to talk about.